Got another one for y'all. I want y'all to go check out Ryan Apologetics 747. Ryan Apologetics 747. I got on this show last night and he treated me as a theologist of Egyptology and things of that nature with the utmost respect. I'll say that. Big ups to him.
Was there anything like while you were in the chat you were thinking like I want to talk about this, but you weren't on the show?
Not necessarily. I just wanted to say, I really appreciate this channel and the different views. It kind of, really gets the wheels turning when it comes to theology and things like that. To hear these different points and kind of see where you fall within, the gauge that they're putting there. So I just wanted to, kind of show my face, familiarize myself. I'll definitely be back. You might see me in the chat again, but that's really the gist of what I wanted to say. I just want to say
Well,
thank y'all.
well, thank you, and I know you got more to say to
Well,
that at some
I
point
got
because
I
you
got
got 290 videos. So, but yeah, go ahead.
I got a quick question for him. I got a quick question for you.
Okay.
You study ancient history, right?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, no, because I heard you saying about these different these different areas around the world, and I'm into that stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
I'm into that stuff too. But like, okay, let me ask you this, right?
Okay.
I'm not asking you this. I'm not asking you this question based on the Bible, but I'm asking you
Okay.
this based on culture. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Like when you look at ancient history, do you see a lot of cultures sharing stuff, sharing ideas from each other?
I do. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Kind of like
Okay,
the ink. Uh-huh.
yeah, go ahead, you go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say. I mean, as far as just kind of like a generalized way to my version of that would kind of be like the Egyptian architecture that you see of pyramids and kind of the same basic kind of ziggurat style pyramids you see with the Aztecs and Mayans in South America and different places like that. I've noticed that they're starting to uncover certain architectures of pyramids and even not South America, but Asia and Antarctica and different places like that. So I could see there's some type of some form of an ancient technology or theology maybe going on in the ancient times that kind of coincides all of them together with some form of sacred geometry that they're learning. And that's about the only thing that I could say as far as a clear kind of similarity between these ancient cultures.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I mean, well, today people, today, like I'm gonna say, people like who's against the Bible, they're trying to make it seem as if sharing each other culture is a bad thing. Like they want to play the copycat game. You
Right.
know, that's because I mean, they didn't have the technology we have, so
Right.
they only had to work with the resources that was available. You
Right.
know,
Hmm.
that's I mean, I see. Yeah, you have respect for the ancient world, man. You have respect for them. You don't just throw them under the bus, and
No. I mean, that's where I disagree with Hebrew Israelism. Because a lot of times, Hebrew Israelites would like to try to just paint all ancient cultures as pagan, but
yeah,
there was a lot of insight that they had that I feel like is even pre-Hebrew inspired. Because I mean, if you go back, chronologically, there were other quote unquote holy languages that they were speaking that predated even Paleo Hebrew or Aramic Hebrew or any other Semitic languages. There was, like in Egypt, they had Meta Neter, and
yeah,
in Sumeria they had cuneiform. So these are languages that predated them. So they would have a pre-existing theology that pertained to God and angels and Jesus and all of those things in their particular cosmology of thinking. Like they had their own version of that, and then eventually Hebrew Israelites pick up this when it gets into the Torah and stuff like that. So I see where they have this kind of pigeonhole ideology when it comes to the belief that they are the only ones that have the understanding of what God is, but there's esoteric existing knowledge of God that predated Hebrew Israelism and even Moses. I mean, Moses is even looked at as
yeah,
possibly have even being in the Egyptian records as Thutmose. So
yeah,
that's my points of contentions with Hebrew Israelites is that a lot of times they will ignore scholastic, actual academia that people have researched that is predating Hebrew Israelism. But I've seen some different camps. They might try to say, well, this, or make up this point, well, ancient Kemet, or they'll say this about this pharaoh or whatever. And that's just for, I think, points of contention that they meet with people that are educated on the streets that actually do have something to actually challenge them on when it comes to history.
Yeah, that's why with that word pagan, I don't like using it. If
Right.
somebody don't believe in the God of the Bible, I just say the non-believer.
Right.
Because pagan is a derogative word to be
Right.
calling
Yeah.
somebody. Or I just say
I mean, and
a
let me just say
non-believer.
this. This is another point that I have with the Hebrew speaking people is that they'll use pagan, but pagan itself is a Hebrew word. I mean, pa means to come from or to be of, and gan was the outer field, or sadah in Hebrew, that the Garden of Eden was in the ancient times. They have in antiquity in a lot of the records. They say sadah, which is where you get Sudan, some of the ancient. They say areas in ancient Africa before it's called Africa, or all Kabulon, or in these other words. But yeah, that's, to me, that's one of the points that I had. Because you say pagan, you're talking about gods that existed before the Hebrew revelation of it being Yahweh or Yahweh or the YHWH tetragrammaton, like whatever it is. So yeah, I agree that there is a lot of information that is credible, that is holy, that is spiritual, and it's before any revelation of Hebrew, and it's also in the chronological order being revealed in the Bible in the book of Genesis.
We had this discussion the other day, though, Damian Turner. And the only point, not the only, because we're going to talk about it for a little bit at least, but the one point that I think is most important is because we've heard this argument before as Christians. We hear this all the time. Like, we copied Egypt and all this stuff, or they came before us. What's funny to me is, do you think that anybody puts any weight in the fact that Neanderthals were drawn in caves, or the first people in Africa?
Right.
Uses that argument. They don't use
Right.
that logic. They're not like, well, wait a minute, they were first. They know who God is. You know what I mean? So
Right.
you do have to be careful with that logic, because it's a logical fallacy if you really take it to the extreme of like,
Right.
okay, well, what about the first 5 people that existed and they were just drawn on a cave? Did they know the truth that we didn't? So we do have to be careful, we don't fall into a logical fallacy, because we had this discussion the other day, and that was just one aspect that I was like, nobody goes that far. They go back a couple thousand years, but they won't go as far as possible.
Right. True. Yeah.
So that's where I think it defends Christianity a lot better, because we made the argument the other day that Christianity came at the perfect time. If God did come when there were only 5 people with sticks and no writing and the world wasn't connected, then it would have died out. Nobody would have known about it. It would have been an oral tradition. It would have died out.